A light. Let's see here.
If I record, I can't add anything to the doc, so
Okay.
Catherine might
Nope.
have to do
Let's have
that.
some. Okay. Is there anyone else that can be a backup and record this to their computer?
I would,
You
but I
guys,
have to go at 7 tonight, a little before 7. We might end or late, so I don't want to
we're going to
say.
end at 6:30.
Okay,
Yeah, we're
so
going to end
should
at
I record?
6:30. Yes, if you can. That'd be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can I go off the screen though and then still have it be recording?
Yeah.
Do you think?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna
Oh,
start.
no. Jillian just told me no. You can't close it,
Oh,
right?
You can't.
okay, I can't
You
do
can't.
that then.
Okay. All right. Okay. So if anybody can record it to their computer, awesome. If not,
Sorry.
that's okay too. That's okay. That's okay. We're good. Okay. You ready, John?
I hope so. Okay. I think I'm ready.
We ready? Okay, here we go. Hi, everyone. My name is Suzanne Hume, and I am the Educational Director and founder of CleanEarthForKids.org. Tonight, we have our youth board, we have interns, and our special guest, Eustace Miller. We're excited to have this conversation with you. We've got great news to share. Thank you so much for being with us. I'd like to introduce Leanna.
Thank you, Suzanne. Hi, everyone, and welcome. My name is Lena. I'm with Team 1, which is Climate Action Plans, Renewable Energy, Sustainability. So at Clean for Kids, we have 6 teams, and social, racial, climate, and environmental justice are part of all we do. If you are a student watching this, you can earn community service by taking notes, creating infographics, art, music, video clips, poetry, all about what you learned. More information is at our website on cleanforkids.org. If you'd like to go to our contest page at our website, you'll see a variety of contests that you can enter, which include art, music, STEM projects, dance, infographics, and so much more. We have many K-12 contests and challenges for everyone to participate in. If you'd like to write poetry, we have a contest for you. You can write poems about our air, water, land, health, animals, and forests. And here's Catherine to tell you a little bit about Team 2, the project Protect What You Love contest that anyone can enter through social media, and a little bit more.
Okay, thanks, Leanne. Hi, my name is Catherine. I'm with Team 2. Our mission is to protect public lands, forest, wildlife, and to remember to plant and care for trees and our gardens. We have a cleanearthforkids.org contest called Protect What You Love. This is a contest where you take a picture or draw or write about your favorite animal or place and why we should protect it. Your art, infographics, video clips, stories, essays, and projects all help bring awareness to why we need to protect our wildlife, nature, clean water and air, oceans, rivers, streams, forests, parks, our food, and our health. I'm now going to talk about some animals that must be protected. As Leanne will explain, during the Trump administration, Trump rolled back 104 protections for our air, water, and public lands. Rollback number 63 changed the way the Endangered Species Act is applied, making it more difficult to protect wildlife and from long-term threats posed by climate change. The next rollback is rollback 64. This ended automatic applications of full protections for threatened plants and animals, the classification one step below endangered in the Endangered Species Act. Here are some of the animals protected by the Endangered Species Act. One of the animals protected is the Humboldt marten. They will receive protection as a threatened species under the Endangered Species Act. This decision came after 2 conservation groups sued the Trump administration for failing to protect these animals. Once common in coastal forests, Northern California and Southern Oregon, they were almost wiped out by habitat loss and fragmentation due to logging. Today, there are fewer than 400 of these species. The next is the bald eagle. Although the Endangered Species Act is being attacked by the Trump administration, we can still remind ourselves of the victories that the ESA has reached. The bald eagle was taken off the endangered species list in 2007. Threats to the bald eagle are hunting, habitat destruction, illegal shootings by hunters, and the pesticide DDT. But eagles recovered as low as 417 known nesting pairs in 1963, and now, today, there are more than 100,000 species of bald eagles in the entire US. Big thanks to the big protections of the ESA and work from individuals aiming to end the extinction of these astonishing birds. Next, we have the sea otter. The sea otter plays an important role in keeping their kelp forest in balance, as they are a keystone species. Thankfully, they have been protected by the ESA since 1977. Threats include polluted runoff, oil spills, and fishing gear entanglement. There's so much hope, people care, and are working hard for change. An action you can take to sign a petition. I will put a link in the chat so you can sign the petition and send it to friends and family. We know that President Biden has pledged to reverse the Trump administration rollbacks, but it is always great to ask. President Biden, we are going to ask President Biden to stop all new oil and gas leasings on public lands to fight climate change. Fossil fuel development must stop immediately. Did you know that 20% of US carbon emissions came from fossil fuels extracted from public lands? That's horrible. I will now put the link in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Now we will hear from Courtney, who will tell us about the effect of air pollution. So Courtney, go ahead.
Okay, thank you for that. So there have been a few studies that have focused on the impacts of air pollution exposure on racial minorities. The results of these studies have raised great concern amongst researchers and policymakers that minority populations may be at an increased adverse health risk from air pollution exposure. Disadvantaged non-white communities may experience higher levels of air pollution. Levels of air pollution are far more worse in urban areas where racial minorities make up the majority of the population. This is due to heavier traffic. These neighborhoods are located near landfills, medical waste incinerators, and other environmental hazards. An example would be in New York City, 6 out of 19 bus depots are located in Harlem and Washington Heights, which are predominantly African American and Hispanic communities. Due to the poor quality of air in these lower socioeconomic communities, it has significantly impacted the health of racial minorities. There have been disparities in access to quality health care. In fact, a study revealed that poor children were more likely to have routine and sick care in neighborhood health center compared to a doctor's office and had high rates of emergency department visits. Asthma and death rates are increasing in, Asthma and death rates are increasing in this country, especially amongst African Americans. SES is a factor that has mostly consistently accounted for the differences in asthma rates between whites and blacks. Another example would be in New York City, asthma hospitalization rates by patient zip code were correlated with the percentage of minorities in the population and associated with the average household income. It was discovered that those of lower SES had higher rates of hospitalizations related to asthma. Overall, SES and race are an important factor in exposure levels to air pollution. Now I will be giving the floor to Liana. Could you please give everyone more information about the 104 rollback?
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much, Courtney. So the 104 rollbacks underneath the Trump administration harm our air, our water, and public lands, and so much more. So we stand in opposition with these 99 rollbacks that cut important environmental protections for the air we breathe and the water we drink and the animals we see. For a link to the New York Times article that kind of discusses all of these rollbacks and cuts it down and organizes it really nicely, you can check out the front page of our website at cleanforkids.org. The front page of our website also has the link to the Harvard Deregulation Tracker and the Columbia University Tracker, and both of them track these rollbacks and how the state of them and a little bit more information about them and so much more. So I definitely check out those resources. November 4th, the US became the only nation to leave the Paris Climate Agreement. Every country on the planet has signed it, and the Trump administration pulled us out. The Paris Agreement is a pact that has no penalties or enforcement to cut greenhouse gas emissions to basically save the planet from climate change and other related impacts. Under the Trump administration, the US is walking away from that promise, while China, Japan, and the European Union have made long-term promises to have net zero emissions. However, Biden will rejoin the Paris agreements. So we are relieved that that President-elect Biden will reverse Trump's harmful rollbacks or cuts of protections for our health, clean air, and water, as well as rejoining this really important agreement. It's important that we have climate leadership across all major countries. But until President-elect Biden is sworn in as President of the United States, Trump's harmful rollbacks will still be in place. So dumping more harmful toxic pollution to our air, our water, and our lands is still going to occur until the transfer of power. So we discussed a little bit about those rollbacks, and while President-elect Biden did say that he would reverse them, it's still important for us to take note of these rollbacks. So rollback number 3 has to do with MATS, or the Mercury and Air Toxic Standards. So the EPA rolled back these standards to let coal power plants basically put more toxic mercury, a neurotoxin, into our air and water. So since 2014, MATS is estimated to have stopped almost 2 million tons of pollution and has saved over 11,000 lives and prevented 130,000 asthma attacks each year. However, this important standard and this important ruling was reversed underneath the Trump administration. I will send a link in the chat a little bit later with more information. We must work to stop coal and fossil fuels that are poisoning our air and water. It is just unhealthy for our planet and is unhealthy for the health of everybody. Rollback number 15 is also another important one to discuss. It weakened air pollution regulations for a handful of plants that burn waste coal for electricity, and they contribute to coal ash and coal dust. And a lot of this stuff is unhealthy for us to breathe in. And typically, surrounding areas next to these plants are communities of color and low-income areas who don't have the accessibility to leave this. So not only is this it is not only like a climate injustice, it's an injustice, and it's a social and racial injustice as well. So Courtney, could you please tell us a little bit more about some rollbacks you're most concerned about?
Thank you, Leanna. Yes, we are very concerned about the safety of air and water. For example, Rollback 9 withdrew a design to limit toxic emissions from major industrial polluters and later proposed making these weak standards official.
Wow, it's honestly, like when I see stuff like that, it just breaks my heart, honestly, that the Trump administration is still allowing more toxic emissions from major industrial polluters. And we're hoping that Trump, honestly, will run out of time before his administration can make these weak standards official, because this is one of the standards that have not been made official yet.
Yes, and Rollback 10 changed the program that protected communities from increases in pollution from new power plants. Now, unfortunately, it is easier for power plants and factories to pollute the air and water and avoid regulation of toxic emissions. This means that even more families, especially in low-income and communities of color, will now face even dirtier air and water. And Rollback 11 changed the rules and the math about how pollution from refineries is monitored in the communities that surround the source of the pollution.
This is just awful hearing. And it's like I mentioned earlier, this is an environmental injustice. It's not fair to these communities. It's not fair to the people living in these communities. It's not fair to like our planet and all. So these are just really prime examples of injustice that we're seeing, and hopefully that these injustices can be stopped, because power plants and factories are, like I mentioned earlier, most often in low-income areas, communities of color, communities of concern. So this is a reason why we need justice for racial, social, and climate and environmental reasons.
Yes. And Rollback 12 overturned guidance meant to reduce emissions during power plant startups, shutdowns, and malfunctions. This results in more pollution is allowed. And in our national parks and wilderness areas, Rollback 13 weakened a rule meant to reduce air pollution in national parks and wilderness areas. Did you know that 90% of our national parks have air that is so polluted that the distance that you can see is shortened by 50 miles?
Yeah, I actually did hear that statistic. I remember about a year ago, I remember hearing that, and it just amazed me that national parks, typically these parks have a lot of trees, depending on the area you are, and those, are usually great at like, cleaning up the air and everything and providing fresh oxygen. It's wild to me that a lot of the air is polluted then that we can't even see in the distance. So I hope that these national parks, a lot of people are exercising and everything, would have clean everyone to drilling and fracking on these public lands, and they're not monitoring this pollution through these rollbacks. So
Yes, and we remember Judith did some beautiful artwork showing the toxic pollution in our national parks. So thank you guys so much for talking about all of these rollbacks, and we are celebrating. You've done the hard work. We didn't know what the result of the election would be. Knowledge is power. So coming together and making sure that we know what's going on and the effects of these rollbacks is just so incredibly important. We are so grateful for Caitlin McCoy at Harvard, staff attorney at Harvard, and Hillary over at Columbia, and the New York Times, and now the Washington Post and the Guardian are also reporting on these rollbacks, now 104. So thank you guys so much for all this important work. And while we are very relieved about President-elect Biden reversing these, we understand that this number keeps increasing. Last week, we talked about 99 rollbacks. Now we're at 104. The Trump administration is trying to push these through, and to no benefit of our economy. So one of our fantastic interns from Georgetown, John Williams, studies economics, and we've also heard from economic professors. It is not improving the economy at all, because the cost of carbon, it's called the social cost of carbon. And so when people are sick because of this horrible pollution and they're unable to work and workers are sick, productivity goes down, and it's a drain on our economy. So there's a whole mathematical table for that, which of course the Trump administration is trying to change. And that's what Leanna and others meant when they said change the math. So they're literally trying to change, well, they literally are changing the math, the way that pollution is calculated, cutting scientists and scientific committees, and replacing these people, scientists and administrators, with lobbyists from the coal industry, from the oil industry, from big pesticide, and it's with devastating effects. So I agree with you guys. It feels like when you go to a national park or wilderness area, that, my goodness, the air there needs to be really clean, and we need to reduce the particulate matter. Big shout out to Kevin and all of you guys that have talked about PM, particulate matter, and Jillian talked about AQI, air quality index. And on our phones, we use air bubbles, to see the amount of particulate matter in the air, the PM level, PM 2.5, PM 10. It's really important to be able to do this. And I was just thinking, looking at this picture, and here I live in California. We work everywhere, but here in California, I'm so thankful tonight because I don't have a wildfire that's burning outside. Not breathing the smoke that has been happening, right, with all of these wildfires. But as things get hotter and hotter, more of this happens. So I'm just so absolutely grateful for the important things that are going to be happening, and for you guys. So amazing. So we're going to talk about slide 14, rollback 14, I should say, with Courtney.
Yes, thank you. And so rollback 14, weekend oversight of some state plans for reducing air pollution in national parks. So this allows polluters to pollute and not need to follow rules to keep our air clean and safe to breathe. And this also affects states that have pollution blown on them because they are upwind or getting affected when the wind blows. So rollback 18 allows upwind states to contribute more ozone pollution to downwind states. The Trump administration rejected petitions to make changes for cleaner air requests from states.
And that's important to discuss because we have this idea of upwind states and downwind states. Thank you again, Courtney, by the way. That's really important to think about. So if you've ever had smoke blown on you and then you moved out of the way to avoid it, think of all those people affected by pollution that cannot simply just drive to another part of the state to avoid the pollution. They don't have the means and the accessibility to move out of the way to avoid that pollution. So this is another example of a environmental injustice and a social injustice, and quite frankly, probably a racial injustice as well. So and thank you for mentioning that. And it's really devastating that this is something that's even allowed to happen on a federal level. So thank you again, Courtney. So Darren, could you please tell us about the Toxic Controlled Substances Act and the harmful rollbacks continuing by the Trump administration? We want to remember that, yes, Biden has said he will reverse these rollbacks when he is in office, but as of right now, these rollbacks and cuts are still happening and still have about another month or so to occur. And so as Suzanne said, from 99 to 104 in like about a week. So it's really important that we still keep track of these.
Yes, so hi everyone, I'm Darren from teams 3 and 5. And so just a little intro, I work for public health and climate change, and I'm part of teams 3 and 5 for air pollution and toxic chemicals. One topic I was looking into was the danger of wood smoke, as you guys have previously said. And I'm a third-year student at UCSD, majoring in molecular cell bio. And so for the first rollback I was going to talk about is 86. So it states that the Trump administration narrowed the scope of a 2016 law mandating safety assessments for potentially toxic chemicals. The term narrowed the scope, which means you may leave out things needed for safety because you're only looking for something specific. And so moving to TSCA, the Toxic Controlled Substances Act, gives the EPA authority to require reporting, record-keeping restrictions, and testing requirements for usage of chemical substances. It helps them keep track and monitor businesses that produce and use chemicals, as well as informing customers about the risks of such substances. And one example is like the cancer warnings you see when you're buying like some kind of food. And so Trump's rollbacks on this act has led to allowing more chemicals, such as formaldehyde, to be used by manufacturers, which are toxic and carcinogenic to people. Additionally, the rollbacks have created setbacks at creating reviews for chemicals, supporting the industry's interests over the health of the people. And so the TCSA is a law, and it was passed in 1976 and then revised in 2016 by the Lautenberg Act, which made some major changes to the TSCA, and it removed costs and economic factors in evaluating chemical safety. It also established deadlines and schedules to review existing chemicals and required the EPA to approve chemicals before the marketplace. Under the Trump administration, the TCSA would exclude chemicals no longer being made from review, things like lead and asbestos, and that would mean millions of tons of toxic chemicals would not be reviewed for safety. And so moving to Rollback 85, I was concerned about it because the EPA under the Trump administration ignored its own research and rejected a ban on chlorpyrifos. And it's a neurotoxic pesticide that has been shown to hurt children's brains. And so the next rollback is rollback 90, and there's also limits buffer zones that protect farm workers and bystanders from being exposed to pesticides. There are already 20,000 pesticide poisonings every year, and weakening buffer zones will only make it worse. So these rollbacks put lives at risk, just so companies can make more money. So we must put the health of the people before our profits. And now I will introduce Anna.
Thank you, Darren. Good evening, everyone. My name is Anna, and I have a background in statistics. I work with all teams, including Team 4, to protect water, #WaterIsLife. I work to help people understand the statistics and ignite a call to action. We must protect our water. Big polluters are allowed to dump toxic chemicals and pollution into our water. Lead is a neurotoxin and was used in plumbing decades ago. Over 9.3 million homes are still connected to service lines that have lead. Service lines connect the plumbing in your home to the main water line. So in relation to some of the rollbacks put in place, rollback 83 proposed doubling the time allowed for utilities to remove lead pipes from water systems with high levels of lead. This would be tragic for children and families. Let's put people back to work rebuilding infrastructure and replace those lead pipes. At Clean Earth for Kids, we are working hard for protections on a federal, state, and local level. Thank you to Jonah, Janice, Dr. Amelie, Dr. Royer, and organizations like Clean Water Action, Food and Water Watch, NRDC, Earth Justice, Beyond Pesticides, Sierra Club, and all the others working together to protect water. We have a petition to protect the Arctic. Please take a moment to tell Bank of America to not fund drilling in the Arctic. Bank of America is the only major US bank who has yet to pledge not to fund fossil fuel projects in the Arctic. The Arctic is home to some of the world's most endangered species and must be protected. I will put the link in the description to the petition. And now I would like to introduce Jillian.
Thank you, Anna. Hi, my name is Jillian. I work closely with Teams 3 and Teams 5 to protect clean air and stop the use of toxic chemicals. I'm a sophomore in college and I'm studying public health. And I would like to talk about first rollback number 6. So this canceled a requirement for oil and gas companies to report methane emissions. And this is really dangerous because, as we know, methane is directly linked to climate change. So by having more methane emissions, we are leading to more climate change. The second rollback that I want to talk about is rollback number 7. This revised and partially repealed a rule limiting methane emissions on public lands, including intentional venting and flaring from drilling operations. Now, a federal court struck down a revision in July of 2020, calling the Trump administration's reasoning wholly inadequate and mandating enforcement of the original rule. However, the rule was later partially struck down in a separate court case during which the Trump administration declined to defend it. And that leads us into rollback number 8, which eliminated methane emission standards for oil and gas facilities and narrowed the standards of limiting the release of volatile organic compounds, commonly called VOCs, which can cause cancer. These rollbacks are, of course, really dangerous and really harmful, and we are absolutely relieved that Biden is now president-elect, and he has said that he will reverse all of the Trump rollbacks for our protection and our community's protection. And with that, I'd like to introduce Jamie.
Hi everybody. I'm going to just have Jamie. She's here with us. So let's see. There she is. She's muted. So let's see if we can get her unmuted. Jamie, can you unmute?
Yeah.
There you go.
Hello,
there
everyone.
you go.
Hello, everyone. How are you?
Hi. We're doing great. So everyone,
yes, I feel like I'm coming back of water, swimming. You know, my head's above water now. I can finally breathe and join you.
We're so happy. As you guys know, Jamie and I were colleagues years ago, teachers, and all of that great stuff. So Jamie's got some fun experiences to share anyway at a later time about teaching. But right now, thank you so much for being with us. We know you're busy schedule of a teacher, and so proud to have you as our social justice commissioner. And so, Jamie, we talked before about NEPA, about the National Environmental Policy Act, and how it was so important that people had a right to, make public comment and oppose these horrible projects, polluting projects that could be in their neighborhood or their city. We talked about NEPA. So, so you guys can see it there, NEPA. But what we would like to find out from you is how you're feeling. And I know Courtney has a couple questions for you about how you're feeling about this new administration. While we've said we're so excited about, the fact that these rollbacks will be going away under a President-elect Biden, as he has stated, we just wanted to check in with you. So first I'll check in with Courtney, and she'll ask you a couple questions. Okay, so Courtney, take it away.
Hi, so I'm actually...
So I'll help you out a little bit.
Yeah.
You got it? Okay, I'll help you out a little bit.
Okay.
All right. So, it's hard to do impromptu questions, right? So, So Jamie, here's the question. So we would just, first of all, like to say thank you for being here. And can you give us a little bit of background about when you learned about NEPA and your reaction to when you found out, about the fact that the Trump administration was rolling back NEPA and how you're feeling now?
Right. And from what I can recall about NEPA, gosh, I haven't read it in a while. I believe NEPA basically protected the poor, and they had input into what projects occurred in their neighborhoods. And basically Trump bypassed that and said that, big business, if you want to go in and just lay pipeline down or do anything that would destroy the environment, it was okay. So I felt really sad because I don't think, I really didn't pay attention. I've spent years raising my own kids. I was in college, and I just feel so badly that I did not know this was going on. And sometimes you would hear these things are going on in the news, but because it wasn't in your neighborhood, you really didn't worry about it. But now that, I'm more aware, really sad that this has been going on for a very long time. And I'm happy that Biden was elected because I'm watching the news, and I turned it down before I joined them. He's going to basically correct all things that were done by the 104 rollbacks. And I'm relieved. I just think he's going to look out for the poor in 4 years. This is my belief. I think he is going to definitely care of the needs of the people who have been suffering and who have been inhaling the particles from the air, lead pipes that haven't been replaced because they are poor, and people have just ignored them. So I don't think those communities will get ignored anymore because, it's just sad to see. We have, we're in our homes with COVID. We watch the news, and COVID actually helped us zero in on this because, we're not watching a lot of sports. we're home with our kids, we watch the news more. And I have to say, COVID was probably a blessing in disguise, because I believe these communities will get helped.
Thank you so much. But silver lining always, right? When people slow down and we take note of things. Of course, we're so sad about the suffering and, you know, the loss of life and all of that. So looking for the good, that's something that you're very good at. So thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us about NEPA and your joy with these rollbacks that will be reversed by the Biden administration. I really enjoyed talking with you last night as well.
That was a lot of fun. That was fun.
Yes. Thank you for your care for others, people that are not in your family, but that are out there in the world. Thank you for being such a decent and kind person, a humble person, and a person that is not influenced by greed, and a person that's strong enough to stand up and speak out, because that takes guts. So thank you, Jamie. Yes, thank you, Jamie. So can you give a word of advice? Yes. Can you give a word of advice to the youth and to others in terms of finding their voice and having the courage to speak out when they see, you know, this kind of, you know, the Trump supporters who are not understanding why we are very concerned about the rollbacks and all of that?
Okay, I think the approach you need to take with people who aren't concerned, if you ever meet them, and they're talking, because this happens to me as well, they're talking, you know, and they're talking about issues regarding Trump. I think you can always interject. Do you know that Trump rolled back the environmental protections that protected the poor from having their air, excuse me, and soil and water polluted? And they will be shocked to hear that. I said that to a woman just the other day, and she actually felt bad. I sent that information to her in a text because she is a Trump supporter. I sent her the information in the text, and she did not like it because it challenged what she felt Trump stood for. And I made her feel bad. So I don't think she'll be calling me anymore because she doesn't like having what she believes in challenged. But I think that's what's important. You're young, speak up. I don't think there's a really kind way to do it, because people just don't want to feel like they're hurting the poor when they actually are participating in that, when they vote for a candidate that implements these rollbacks. So I think you guys can say it as gently as possible, and people will listen to you when you speak softly. But you know, the big stick is, here's the data, here's the information, no one can deny it, here's the pictures. And people will be speechless, and it does bother them, but you've given them something to think about. Even though they don't want to hear it from you, it's gonna weigh on their minds. And when they hear about it on the news, because I believe that Joe Biden is going to focus on this, Black Lives Matter. They're tired of living in these conditions and having things just kind of dumped on them, and they're people being sick. And it does affect a lot of Black communities, because we've been here for a long time. Basically, when the Civil War was over in 1865, a lot of Black folks settled throughout America, but in some of the places they settled, they were in the big cities, especially New York. Those were the poor areas. So some of them did get educated and move on, but it was basically the poor that were left behind. When segregation came about in 1964, Black people finally could move out of their neighborhoods and invest in homes in white neighborhoods. So when it happened over a long period of time, people who were left behind were the poor Black people that couldn't afford to get out of those neighborhoods. So because you took those people away, the people who took care of them and fought for clean air and water, they were left without anyone defending them. So basically, I think it's good that you bring it up and educate yourself, and you'll give people something to think about. And for me, it's hard for me to be quiet now, because I think about how some people said, well, big business will stay in America because they can now pollute. They won't have so many EPA restrictions because the restrictions are too strict. Now, look what we have. We have information and data to say to those people, no, it's not just a few adjustments made to some kind of treatment plant. We're talking about some serious pollution. And here's the data. I have it for you. So, I'm thinking when COVID is over and we all get a chance to get out there, I think that would be good to put the message out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Yes, and NEPA has been there for us, for decades, and different foundational environmental laws that were put in place, like the Clean Water Act and the Clean Air Act, been there for decades, but still, pollution, obviously, way too high. And with the Trump administration rolling these things back, horrible rules rolled back, such as, once in, always in. And that allows once as you know, once a power plant or a factory has reduced youth pollution emission controls and reduced the pollution one time only. With the Trump administration, they no longer have to use their pollution reduction machines anymore. And so it's the pollution levels are astronomical. And the 2-for-1 rule, the same thing, the Trump administration saying, when you make a new rule, you have to take 2 out. Well, who loses on that? Most of the time it's communities of color, communities of concern, and low income people, that are white or other colors as well. But the low income people are the ones who lose out. But for me, who is poisoned by pesticides in a relatively affluent area, when Darren was talking about core PFAS and buffer zones, how the Trump administration is doing away with those. And I think about, Mission Vista School, high school right there, and how they are subjected to toxic pesticides, and, Trump trying to do away with the buffer zones. I'm just really grateful for everybody speaking up, at least for people who live in California, they can be assured that, California has been a leader forever in the environmental movement, along with New York and Hawaii and Connecticut. But we have so far to go. And with Trump challenging the states, trying to take away our right in California to regulate greenhouse gases, and our tailpipes and all of that kind of stuff. But again, feeling good that over 23 states are suing the Trump administration over that one rollback alone. That's just a beautiful thing. But thank you so much for your time and being here for us. And so I thank you. And I will ask Yusuf. Yusuf, could you speak a minute about how you're feeling and what you would like to say in terms of environmental justice, NEPA, the rollbacks, or share with us your ideas?
Yes. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
This is Yusuf Miller, and when it comes to NEPA, I think it's the important rollback on or to get us back to what NEPA really stands for is the community's input on toxicity that affects their community, their children, their family, so their air, their water. And without these protections, we're liable to the people who are in it for profit over people. And we want people over profits. So let's take, for example, just our local area here in California, where the power plant can dump nuclear waste on the beach 100 feet from the shoreline, and no one does anything about it. Now, I know to all of us, this seems crazy, but if it wasn't for something like NEPA, we would never know about it. And this is an actual thing that's actually happening in San Onofre. The waste cells from that nuclear plant is being powered or being buried 100 feet from the shoreline, from the water table. So without the community's access to this information, we don't know when we're in danger. And that's the problem, especially when we're talking about gases and we're talking about particulate matter in our air from industrial work and things like that, when we talk about fracking, when we talk about these issues that can affect indigenous lands and tribal lands when it comes to their water sources, if we are not at the table in the decision making on what can and can't be done in our communities, we are at the mercy of people who prefer profits over people. So that'll never turn out right for us. We see people, the Trump administration particularly, who choose the profits in their pockets and their bank accounts over the safety of tribal members, people of color, people of concern who live in these communities where particulate matter is dumped all the time. They don't have clean water to drink. If you think about Flint and all these places. So our access to the fight is the NEPA, where we can have access to this decision making. So it's no small thing that President Biden gets us back to the table to fight and make decisions on what benefits us, not only from our air, but from the food we drink, which comes from the soil. If the soil has all kinds of oil and pollutants in it, we're eating that. Our animals that eat those things, if we eat those animals, we're again eating those things. So when it comes to our communities, we need to be at the table to express our dissatisfaction, to express our community cooperation if it is something that we want to have. We may have some things that we want to have, especially when it comes to clean energy that we want in our community. Just because it's clean energy doesn't mean that we shouldn't have a seat at the table. We want clean jobs to go along with it. We want things that are going to benefit our community for the price of having it in our community. So there's a lot of layers to this NEPA being enforced and being given back to the people, because it's people power that's going to keep us safe, not corporate power.
Yes. Yeah, thank you so much. And we're just always so thrilled to have you on, and thank you for all that you do for not just North County and this area in California, but being a great role model and friend to so many. So thank you so much. We're so blessed to have you as a part of Clean Earth for Kids. We really
love
are.
Clean Earth for Kids. I love Clean Earth for Kids. I'm so impressed and so happy with all of you. And as a matter of fact, just yesterday, I was bragging about you guys to the interfaith community in Escondido called Escondido Together. And some of those pastors there are going to start joining your podcast here, your information here. And also after this meeting, I have another meeting with a group of clergy in Poway, the Poway Interfaith team. And both of these teams have been trying to get more environmentally sound in their ministries. And I told them, if you want to start anywhere, you start with Clean Earth for Kids. They'll get you right. They'll get you straight. So we're going to see a lot more participation from different faith traditions throughout North County coming to these podcasts.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you again so much. And we're so lucky to have you with us and consider you, our own, Clean Earth for Kids. So thank you so much. And I'd love to hear a little bit more if you can. And after you speak, we'll hear from Jillian about a petition over in Delaware to keep that river safe. But can I ask you, Yusuf, would you tell us a little bit about the organization that you and Darwin Fishman pulled together and your goals for that?
Yes, this organization is called the North County Equity and Justice Coalition, which is a coalition of coalitions here in North County to include Escondido, Poway, all the way to Oceanside, Carlsbad, all the cities in North County, and from the diverse social justice organizations, whether it's the environment, whether it's police reform, homelessness, mental health, all of these things, we come together because they're all social justice issues. And if you think they don't tie in, you're not seeing the whole picture. So we have it so that we can all meet in the same circle and discuss all things good North County, which is our motto. Our motto, all things good North County, because all of us are doing outstanding work. And we don't have to travel all the way to San Diego city to get it. We're switched on and we're powerful here in North County. And the North County Equity and Justice Coalition is the only coalition that could brag so much youth involvement. We have Clean Earth for Kids, who is a part of our coalition. We also have Teens Against Racial Justice. Against racial discrimination. We have the Black Student Union of Poway and so many more youth who are involved in this coalition. And when we have our next presentation, which we meet monthly, we're going to highlight the youth. The youth is the future. The youth are educated, they're on point, and they're active. And we want all the other organizations, the NAACP, the ACLU, all these other Immigrant Rights Consortium, all of them, San Diego Regional Interfaith Collaborative, to know about you and to support you in your efforts. So we're going to focus on the youth for our next forum, and we're going to invite all of the youth groups to share with the world of North County and San Diego what you do and who you are and what you're interested in, to get them rallying behind you and as you lead the way.
Yes, so excited about that. So yes, we'll be there and ready to go. The youth will be ready to speak. So thank you again so much for being here. We feel so lucky to have such wonderful, great support from you and from Jamie, from our board. Yes, from our board, and all of our people who care and are supporting the youth. Thank you so much. So Jillian, can we please hear about your petition?
Yeah, absolutely. So this petition is to ask the Delaware River Basin Commission to reject a fracked gas plant on the Delaware River. It is supposed to is proposed to stop the liquefied natural gas plant that is supposed to be coming to Gibbstown, New Jersey, which would process and ship fracked natural gas. And this gas would be brought in by 700 trucks every day and by trains, which, as I have definitely spoken on before, is very dangerous because it has a high risk of explosions. They've even been nicknamed bomb trains because of how dangerous they can be, as liquefied natural gas is a very sensitive material to work with. And I will put the link to that petition in the chat if it's not already done. And Anna, would you like to talk about the These Are the Hands contest?
Yes, thank you, Courtney. So the These Are the Hands contest is open to everyone of all ages. We hope you will join us in making a drawing and decorating a hand to recognize, honor, and lift up people working for change and to make life better for others. Everyone is encouraged to participate and honor someone making a positive difference in your school, community, city, or in our world. You can draw and decorate words and pictures to honor their work. Judith, an artist, and on Team 3, Clean Air, because hashtag Kids Breathe Here, and others have drawn hands for California Assemblyman Al Muratsuchi, because clean air and water, environmental justice is so important. Al Muratsuchi is an assembly member representing California's 66th Assembly District, whose priorities include the environment, education, public safety, veterans, and jobs. Muratsuchi is a champion for the environment. He wrote AB 1775 to oppose the Trump administration's proposal to renew offshore oil drilling off California's coast. He also wrote AB 754, a law that provides funding for coastal protection programs, and AB 2711 to help defeat an oil drilling proposal in Hermosa Beach. These are just a few of the many actions Al Muratsuchi has taken to work towards a healthier and safer environment. Thank you. And so if we could have Courtney speak. I think Courtney has.
Yes, thank you. So Judith drew a hand for Dr. Mustafa Santiago Ali, who worked in the EPA for 24 years. He served as the Assistant Associate Administrator for Environmental Justice and the Senior Advisor for Environmental Justice and Community Oh, sorry, my screen messed up. And community revitalization. He was a founding member of the EPA's Office of Environmental Justice and was the Environmental Justice Lead for the BP Deepwater Horizon oil spill in 2010. He is on the board of the Union of Concerned Scientists, the National Wildlife Federation, and is a pioneer in the field of environmental justice. So thank you, Dr. Ali, for all your work and leadership in environmental justice. You inspire us all.
Wow, look at this art. You'll notice with Dr. Ali, sorry, the slides were, we had a little technical difficulty, if you want to say. So Dr. Mustafa Santiago Ali's award, and this will go in the book. These are the hands. So excited about this project, you guys. Entering your poems, the ideas that you want to share, drawing hands, and decorating them for our social justice and environmental justice warriors. That's just outstanding. So excited about that. So yes, so Dr. Mustafa Santiago Ali, there's his. And then to talk with us about Attorney General Becerra is Leanna.
Thank you, Suzanne. So yes, California's Attorney General Xavier Becerra is a climate champion in our opinion. He's doing a lot, especially in regards to the Trump administration's rollbacks. He's suing the Trump administration to protect our air and water from pollution caused by the rollbacks underneath the Trump administration. So Xavier Becerra and several states and organizations are suing the Trump administration for a variety of reasons. So please feel confident in California's Attorney General, Xavier Becerra, and other attorney generals who are fighting in court and winning again and again to protect your air and water. We're not going to let people keep letting people know about these rollbacks. We are going to keep letting people know about these rollbacks and the cuts of protections until they are stopped. So we're going to send a link in the chat on how to thank him if you'd like to. We're writing letters, thank you letters specifically, making a thank you video to go along with our These Are the Hands books that we're writing, where we will publish the hands for the world to see our gratitude. We're going to ask others to help us review a few things Attorney General Xavier Becerra has done for us. So one of the big things he has done in regards to energy is leading a coalition of 16 other attorney generals and the city of New York for suing the Department of Energy over its failure to update efficiency standards for 25 categories of lots of products, such as like light bulbs, refrigerators, so many like day-to-day appliances that we use. The Department of Energy missed multiple mandatory deadlines for updating these efficiency standards, violating the Energy Policy and Conservation Act. This energy efficiency standard programs could save consumers more than $2 trillion and avoid 2.6 billion tons of carbon dioxide emissions. So it's saving so many people so much money, and it's also saving our planet the harm from greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide and so much more. He also led, in terms of civil rights and clean water, he also led a coalition of 21 state attorney generals suing the EPA over their attempt to stop state reviewings for federal buildings permits under the Section 401 in the Clean Water Act, which we've discussed a lot on our panel discussions here. This rule allowed states to ensure projects did not pollute their water. However, the Trump administration wanted to take this right away from states and make it more of a federal issue. Becerra is also leading another coalition of 19 states suing the EPA over their changes to the Waters of the United States rule, which removed protections from 18% of streams and 51% of wetlands. That's over half of our wetlands in our country. So the attorney generals from these states are standing up for clean water, and they're standing up for the rights of the people that live near these areas and so much more, and just for the health of our planet and people overall. So today, as as Attorney General Xavier Becerra leads a coalition of states to stop the administration's efforts to ease restrictions on methane emissions. He has sued the EPA for failing to provide documents, and he's also requested on whether EPA Secretary Scott Pruitt has a conflict of interest in making these environmental decisions. So a lot of really important work. He's the voice of the people, essentially, in terms of like law and everything. And we're really proud of him for challenging the EPA's illegal delay of important air quality standards and so much more. So as a member of Congress, Xavier also opposed legislation that would have turned a blind eye to greenhouse gas emissions, and he worked to clean the Los Angeles River and preserve green space in Los Angeles neighborhoods, and has supported clean energy initiatives. So really thankful and so proud for his dedication to the environment and the people in it, and his the nonstop fighting to protect everything that we love, and especially on as well as acting as like an environmental leader by getting other attorney generals on board, trying to, make sure that we can stop all these awful things happening. So we're really thankful to have him doing all this great work. And I will pass it to Darren.
Thank you. So continuing off, California Attorney General Becerra stopped some more rollbacks that harmed the public health. And so he sued to stop rules such as once in, always in, which allows polluters to stop monitoring and reducing their toxic pollution after one time reducing the amounts. And this is rollback 7 on Trump's 99 rollbacks that cut protection for our air. And also harming our air, the 2-for-1 rule, which says that the EPA must cut 2 laws or regulations that protect our health if they make a new one. So Trump's rollbacks and cuts in regulations are incredibly harmful to health. So California Attorney General Becerra and other state attorney generals will continue to keep fighting for our health and our rights no matter who is president. So we are very thankful for what they have done. And I leave it to Jillian.
Thank you. So Attorney General Becerra has also been a huge voice in fighting for safe food and stopping the toxic chemicals and pesticides in our communities. He oversaw the installation of 2 critical environmental laws, one of which was the Safe Drinking Water and Toxic Enforcement Act, which deals with the use of toxic chemicals. It protects not only communities from exposure, but to workers that have to deal with toxic chemicals as well. He's part of the coalition criticizing the EPA for minimizing the risk of cancer in an assessment that's widely used pesticide. He also led a multi-state coalition suing the EPA for improper registration process for new uses of sulfoxaflor. I believe that's how you say that. It's a pesticide, and due to its toxicity, it's a risk to pollinators like the ones you see in the pictures, especially bees. And with that, I hand it off to Catherine.
Yes, so I'll just speak real quick. Yeah, so important. Thank you guys so much, and we're excited to have written one thank you letter to the Attorney General Xavier Becerra saying thank you, but we want to collect others and do a video, as Leanna said. And we're also working on other videos, and she can tell you just a bit about that. And Catherine had an opportunity to share about the Endangered Species Act and all of those, and her excitement earlier about President-elect Biden being able to reverse these 100 rollbacks. So I'll go ahead and ask Leanna to share really briefly, and then we'll have everyone give us a good night message or whatever they'd like to say before we sign off.
Okay, sounds great. So yeah, I'll just fill in for Catherine really quick and just briefly tell you about what he's done in terms of the Endangered Species Act. So He has been a supporter of stricter climate regulation and tackling climate change, as we've seen and what we've discussed so far. But he also fights for decreasing greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, and specifically decreasing methane emissions, which I discussed a little bit earlier. So he continues to serve as a voice for vulnerable communities who face these challenges of climate change, and it was a key figure in implementing and enforcing a lot of other things. So how does this connect with the Endangered Species Act and so much more? I mean, climate change is a threat to endangered species because typically animals are going onto these endangered species list because of the effects of climate change. So their habitats are decreasing, or they're threatened, their food sources are threatened, or because of their decreased land, means that they don't have as much room to go around, and then hunting and all these things add up. And so by tackling climate change and climate regulation and trying to support stricter climate regulation standards and rules and so much more, he's inherently supporting and trying to aid endangered species and so much more. So we thank him for all the work he's doing and all that stuff. And lastly, I'm just going to close with a opportunity if anybody out there is interested. Currently, a few other people like John Williams and Anna and I are all working on divestment, especially divestment on the university level. So currently we are making a divestment video in hopes of trying to get other universities to divest from fossil fuels, which means taking out of money and hopefully reinvesting that money into renewable energies. So we have lots of universities that have divested, including the UC system, which Darren and I both attend. However, there's a lot of universities that haven't. And so we're hoping that by getting this video, basically saying why we think divestment is important and getting the voices of so many other university students from around the nation and around the world, we can hopefully push for this divestment movement to become stronger, because it is really important. As a lot of people like to say, put your money where your mouth is. So by divesting their money out of these fossil fuel industries, you're sending a message that you don't condone what they're doing. You don't appreciate the way that they are polluting our air, and then all of these interconnections between fossil fuels and politics and so much more. So it's a really huge message. And so we're hoping to get more universities involved, more students involved, and hopefully if you're interested, you can let us know if you want to send a video on why you think divestment is important to you. And if you want to thank your university or you want to call out your university, feel more than welcome to let us know, and we'll try to incorporate it.
Yes, and I was going to say really quickly, so you heard back from a couple universities so far that would like to work with us. Boston University, and which of the universities?
So University of New Mexico, Vanderbilt, and Boston University have shown their interest so far. So I already got a video from one of them. So hopefully the movement keeps going and we get more responses and can really start working on this video. And this just...
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. So many great things to do all the time. And I hope to connect with you guys on the weekend. And tomorrow we'll be working on that plastic grant working with Scripps Institute of Oceanography that Jay Kaufmanstein is working on. Super excited. And another one of our Cleaners for Kids volunteers in our action group, an adult, Mark Deandra. So that will be so awesome to get that off the ground. So thank you so much for that. So Jillian, what would you like to share?
Well, I would just like to thank everybody for coming to the panel discussion tonight. I think even in these really crazy and busy times, it's always important to remind ourselves of what we're fighting for and the amazing people that are fighting along with us. So thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. And Darren, what would you like to say?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for coming. We appreciate your support, and this is a serious topic that we are passionate about.
Yeah, thank you so much. And Jamie? Oh, you're muted, Jamie. Can you Jamie, you're muted. Can you unmute?
Double fingers.
There you go. There you go. Okay.
So I want to say I'm
Jamie.
very impressed and just feeling good about being a part of this movement that's happening. You know, fighting for those who are poor, who don't have a voice. And you guys are the army for clean air, clean water, and a clean earth. And I like the fact that you're starting young, because I think, you know, I hope other places have clean earth for kids. I don't know, Suzanne, and eventually you'll spread throughout the earth. And then people will wonder, where did they come from? Where did all these youngsters come from? Because they're changing the environment and they're advocating for the less fortunate to have what we have in middle class. And like you said, Suzanne, sometimes we're not even safe in middle class areas because of the poisoning that happened.
Right.
So
just got to work
look
together and build.
Actually, we do. So I just, I think it's exciting seeing all of you lead into the future. I hope this spreads. I don't know what it takes for it to spread, but it's definitely something that's catharsis. It's going to make change. You guys are great.
Thank you so much. So thanks, guys. I'm going to stay on the call and say hi to my fellow board member, Jay Kloffenstein, and one of our people getting community service hours that we offer. So that will be fun, and talk a little bit with him. You're welcome to hop off the call. Of course, you're always welcome to stay on. And if you would like to talk this weekend or Monday, then you'll let me know. So thank you guys so much for being on. And yes, Jillian, it feels like a lifetime since we've talked. I'm missing you. So I had the opportunity to talk to Leanna this week. I can't remember what night it was, but we talked for a long time, as we always do. But anyway, missing you, Jillian. And Darren, I'm so sorry we haven't connected. Hopefully we're going to have a chance to this weekend and Monday. So you guys are awesome, and I'm so excited to work together. So thank you so much, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Have a great night. And
have a great night,
thank
everyone.
you so much. Bye. Okay, so John is promoting you to be panelists, Jay and Sydney. And Jay, I know that there is a meeting right now that you are actually supposed to be attending, and that I need to attend also, or at least check in. So hi, Sydney.
Hi.
So John, can you make sure that I don't even know if we were registered for Coastkeeper. Okay, so okay. So yes, because we are having Coastkeeper as a guest. So we're having the panel discussion tonight. They're having one at North County Climate Change Alliance with Coastkeeper. And we talked with Coastkeeper about a month ago about the important work they're doing, and they'll be able to be on sometime. I need to schedule it. We've been really busy and wanted to talk about our rollbacks and what we were doing. And so we haven't been inviting our guests. So we've just been having, just talking about these important things. So Jay, how's that conversation going with North County Climate Change with Coastkeeper?
Pretty extensive. They were just reviewing all the things they were doing up and down the coast, and some things in Oceanside. And they were also talking about NEPA and then all the agricultural runoff that occurs. And they were talking about the pesticides and certainly about the water conditions that are exist from the runoff. So there were about, I suppose, 25 people maybe on the call, not as extensive as has been in the past, but I was able to moderate a little bit as I was, watching the panel here. But that's interesting thing about Zoom is that you can have several Zooms going at once.
It's a little complicated, but yes. So thank you so much for that. So we're excited to host Coastkeeper. And Carl, thank you so much for being on. And I look forward to talking with you soon. I have some availability. I see your note in the chat. I have some availability this weekend and on Monday. So if you could send me an email letting me know your availability, that would be fabulous. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. So Sydney, how's it going? And what's new with you?
Um, well, I was really happy on Saturday to hear that Biden won, but actually Saturday was also a bittersweet day for me for kind of personal reasons, but not extremely personal. But I would say that we got over the first hump, and that was, you know, whether or not Biden would win. But I mean, honestly, I have to admit I'm feeling more worried now because I know that Trump was going to challenge the results. And my dad and I were having a discussion the other night, and he told me that, you know, I don't understand how this all works. This is so confusing to me, but I guess he thinks that Trump is waiting to push a certain lawsuit or something till like December because there's an official deadline or something where the electoral vote could actually rule in his favor. So that is very scary.
Yeah, Jay, what do you have to say about
I'm not,
that?
Still looming. I think December 12th, December 14th, there's the deadline for the Electoral College. And then, you know, the states typically have 1 to 2 votes each. And it's amazing, California only has 2 votes as compared to
It's so
South Dakota
unfair.
or Wyoming or something like that.
they
So,
need to fix this system.
yeah, the
They
system is
do.
antiquated and it's
mean-
dedicated back to white supremacy and slave owners. And it should
Yeah.
not be part of the Constitution.
Honestly, if something happens and if somehow he gets it, I don't think I'm gonna be able to handle it. I really don't. Like, I think that'll.
Oh, you both. Hello. We're going to be crying our eyes out. I'm not anticipating that happening. I'm anticipating that on the inauguration day, that we will be like, oh my gosh, I'll text you. Guess what's happening? Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
But,
you know, we have to keep the faith. If not, we will be crying our eyes out. Jay, you've seen?
I'm just glad I'm just glad a lot of the lawsuits have been thrown out. But
yes.
Georgia.
Jay, what do you think is going to happen? Jay, what is your prediction and what do you think is going to happen?
No, I think, you know, he's keeping Pennsylvania and I think he'll keep Nevada and Arizona. I think all of those states will be going to Biden. I just think it's, the Republicans spent so much money on, you know, the election that they're way down and they're using this legal status, I guess, to build up their war chest so that they can keep Trump out of jail after he's, you know, left office. The only out for Trump is for Pence to take over in the last few days and give Trump a clemency. You know?
Yeah.
So that would be interesting to see if that happens. But I think a lot of these.
Okay, how would that work? You mean you think that Trump would step down so Pence could go there and then pardon him?
Yeah, that's one possibility.
My dad mentioned that too.
What did he say, Sydney? Do you remember?
Exactly what you just said. He thinks that too. But I don't know. I mean, some of this election stuff is just so confusing.
And he thinks that he can hire, you know, lawyers to keep things tied up for decades. And that's part of the war chest.
And stay president for decades while it's all he wants to stay.
I think he will.
Oh my!
He will constantly be a thorn in the side of everybody.
The world.
In the world, and you know, his base.
Honestly,
he's got 72 million people that are out there pushing and funding, and
I think it's sickening.
Yeah, so we have a lot of disparity in our. You know, there's a lot of white supremacy. There's a lot of.
I thought we were so much better than this, and it's just really traumatized me. And honestly, like, I hate to say this, but if Trump wins again somehow, I think our climate is done. I think the world for sure would be completely doomed. And my biggest fear is that our voices won't even be heard anymore, and especially mine, because I'm only capable of doing so much. You guys are capable of doing all the work. I'm not capable of doing much. So if anything, my voice would be outnumbered. And I wouldn't even I feel like my dream to make the world a better place wouldn't be an option anymore. Like, no matter what I do. Like, I feel like we're at a turning point. Like,
Too many organizations out there that are stepping up. You know, we've got the United Nations that are really stepping up now.
Well, yeah, because they're capable people and they can do whatever they want. They have all the freedom in the world.
200 countries are out there wanting to make the world a better place. We just have a few people here that are backing this kind of ruthless, endangering thing.
I wonder how much progress a lot of the countries have made, because I thought I read something, and I feel like this is normal in politics, but my fear is that, you know, the countries can do one thing by signing the pledge or committing to the Paris Agreement, but are they really going to follow suit? And sorry to be so pessimistic, but a lot of times in politics, it's like, you know, people may pledge to do something really, really good, or may pledge to donate half their money, or, you know, and do this, you know, environmental thing or human rights thing. But then it's like years later, they've made very little progress. So, I mean, I'm sorry to be so pessimistic, but I feel like this is how
they're moving ahead so far that they're leaving the United States in the dust. China did not spend, you know, the $16 trillion that we've spent in the last 20 years on our military. 16 trillion. They didn't spend that. They have a military that's probably 10 times less the size of our military.
So how far ahead has China moved?
They put that money into a green future. South Korea is putting hundreds of billions of dollars into the new Green Deal. All the Scandinavian countries are moving ahead on renewable energy. Denmark is #1 in the world with regard to.
Oh yeah, Denmark is really good.
Energy. So don't lose heart, you know.
I did see one really good thing where I think it started in Hong Kong. Have you heard of sponge cities?
No. What is
I know that term, but
I know it's a unique term. So basically, they're trying to turn cities into sponges. I think they've already started some of it. Some of it has already been done. So this is about rain harvesting. So you know how, like, especially in a lot of industrial areas, there's all this asphalt and there's this cement. And when it rains a lot, you get floods, and then all this pollution goes down the storm drains and stuff. So these sponge cities are supposed to help combat that. So in the cities somewhere in, like, I don't know, I think some in China and some in Hong Kong, they're making the roads and the grounds porous, so that when it rains, the water can just soak through the ground like Mother Nature is supposed to work. That way you don't have as much flooding. You don't have as much polluted runoff going down the storm drains. Now, my concern is this pollution going to be absorbed into the ground? But hey, at least, like, this is supposed to reduce flooding, because I guess in certain cases when you have asphalt and cement, and you have like a lower ground, the water just gets stuck there. It gets, I don't know how it all works, how exactly floods work. But these sponge cities are supposed to help combat that and restore groundwater charge. So I was really happy to hear that. And it's like, why can't we do something like that here more often? The only place that I know of that's doing that here is somewhere in LA. But I feel like if we could just adopt that policy and learn from, I think it's Hong Kong. I know it's somewhere around there, but if we could just adopt that policy, imagine what a better place this country would be.
Well, new developments. My daughter's working on new developments, and they're putting in all electricity. They're putting in solar panels. They're putting in storage. They're putting in driveways that you're talking about, driveways that allow rainfall to be absorbed and build up the water table.
Does it have like little holes? What? Does it have like little holes in it so the water can go down, or do they just have like how do they allow with the pavement? How are they allowing that water to go through?
Well, they don't.
It's porous.
It's porous. Okay. They also put in interlocking cement so that it can go down.
I'm not sure how the sponge
thousands
cities.
Of holes in a driveway.
I'm not sure exactly what they're using in the sponge cities over there, but it's probably something similar.
Yeah, that's part of it. They use a interlocking format that has water so that it can slowly go down and build up the water table. rather
And
than
also, is Brazil actually in the climate agreement? Because I know that they have a really big deforestation problem that scares.
Yeah, well, their leaders like Trump. That's the problem. He's aggressively, bought into the fossil fuel industry. And so they're damaging the Amazon. It's burning, a football field of forest every minute.
I thought they halted that this year. I thought I read that they halted.
No, there are more forest fires in the Amazon than there's been in the past 30 years. And so part of that is to clear.
I saw an article where they halted it for a few months. They halted activities.
Yeah, well, a lot of pressure by the people to get him out, but he still reigns, as the elected president, of Brazil. So they need to
getting him out was good.
They need to remove him.
Thank you for your petition.
They need to elect new people to come in. It's too much of a treasure for the rest of the world. Actually,
yeah,
I think that despite COVID, the world needs to still get on them, because I know last year a lot of countries did get on them, which is great. But
yeah, one of the good things is America has more trees than we've had in the past 100 years. It's South America with all the burning in the Amazon that is losing its forestation, and so we're reforesting. The Tongass, all of that is being protected, and so the dilemma has been the recent fires. Though it took 4 million acres this past year just in California.
I mean, I just fear that all of our forestry is going to be gone in my lifetime, given how many fires there are. I mean, I can just see it gone totally for good, and it just makes me so depressed.
Well, it leaves an opportunity for us to reforest. Also, it's trees should have been planted 20 years ago, as they say.
The problem is, I feel like a lot of people don't realize we could reforest all we want, but that takes decades to grow back, right?
Well, they're using drones now to reforest, believe that or not. So there are. They're able to drop the trees in, but countries are putting in millions of trees, so that's a big step forward. Regenerative farming is returning.
Well, but my question is how are places in the world going to be able to reforest at the same rate that we're losing forest? Because if we're losing forest at a much faster rate, then aren't you afraid that we're all going to be overpowered?
I think Biden is going to come in and he's going to set up a whole new conservation corps. And this conservation corps will help to get people good jobs and jobs that will provide income, through and after this pandemic, and provide them an opportunity to restore the environment.
I think that we need to also put pressure on McConnell too.
Yeah, well, I hope that the two members from Georgia are elected. And if they are, then it balances the Senate. And possibly we can have, Schumer, I believe. Schumer take over as the chairperson or the head of the Senate. And that would put McConnell as the minority leader rather than the majority leader.
And before I get off of here, I actually meant to ask you two questions. I actually had two questions for Suzanne. Is she still there?
Yeah, I'm right here.
So first of all, I was wondering, so if I just send you a text message of what I want to say to Xavier Becerra, could you just forward it onto the thank you thing that you're putting together? And second, the second one was, oh my gosh, if I can even remember. About the video about divestments. Well, first of all, the other videos that we did we have a chance to get them edited and published yet? And also, I am interested too in doing a video about divestments.
Oh, perfect. I'm so excited.
Good.
Yeah, I'm so excited about doing that, and I'm excited to be able to meet and do that. I need to find out your schedule for this weekend or Monday to work on that. And so, yes. And so Darren still had a video that he was editing. It's like, John's like, hey, if she doesn't hurry up, he's just going to do it, but we're trying to be patient. So I will check with John to find out about that. So Darren said one of the videos that she edited, not yours, Sydney, but someone else's, took her 6 hours. So, and that was just like a section. So yeah, I think editing video takes a really long time.
I think maybe we need to have more people help with the videos, because I hope the ones that we did, like just recently, that one and the last one I did, I hope it didn't get lost.
Oh no, nothing's lost. Exactly. So what we did, Sydney, was we sent. I'll have to check with John to make sure that find out the date about that. He's on a. Hey John. What? Hey John. About the film intern, Sydney was talking about. We so desperately need film people. What did that go into? Did we send that out? Yeah, we don't have any more. We don't have any film intern applications. We have so many applications to do other stuff like engineering. We have a lot of those that came in from San Luis Obispo. We had intern applications for education and a lot of others. We didn't get one for film. So we need to call, USC. Jay has an idea about Palomar. Jay, were you telling us to contact or suggested to contact Palomar, or who is it that does the film, has the film school that's local?
Yeah, Palomar has a really, really great media department. And
okay, so I need to do that tomorrow. So Sydney, what I have to do is I need to send an email to the department head at Palomar asking for film interns, because I agree with you 100%. We are backed up, and it's not fair for us to put so much pressure, me or the people to feel pressured, because they've only, it's Darren and Gabby essentially, and that's just not enough. So we need a lot of, we need a lot of people.
I don't even know who we can reach out to.
They're not in class, and they're not